He's charging us. The entire zoo, my zoo, collapsing.
The Vornak Galactic Zoo was bleeding credits faster than a Krellian sand shark. Revenue charts had nosedived into red.
How could one primitive exhibit do this? I'll be ruined.
1 week earlier, Brandon Cross was just a backpacker hiking the Rocky Mountains, miles from the nearest road. He didn't notice the shimmer in the air behind him, a telltale sign of a cloaking field. 3 cloaked acquisition agents materialized from a flash of bent light. One raised a glowing neural disruptor. What the hell? In seconds, Brandon was unconscious, his body limp inside a stasis pod filled with pale blue gel. The acquisition agents logged their catch, one primitive biped, Sol -3. The pod hummed as the ship jumped to light speed. When Brandon woke, he would be behind glass, labeled and on display, and the zoo would never be the same. Brandon surfaced from unconsciousness with a taste of metal and blue gel on his tongue. This isn't Colorado. That much is clear. The room was a sterile box, a narrow cot, a dispenser on the wall, and a shelf holding a dozen colorful cubes labeled in alien script. Breakfast of Champions. Tastes like chicken-ish cardboard. Through one transparent wall, a massive cephalopod floated in a glowing tank, its shifting bioluminescence slow and deliberate. That thing is way too smart to be just an animal. In another enclosure, a pack of golden-scaled quadrupeds scurried over artificial rock. One stood upright, head cocked, watching him. They're all watching me, sizing me up. And beyond them, a massive predator lay still behind a shimmering force field, its scarred head rising just enough to fix him with a mournful stare. I am not the only one who wants out of here. That's step one. The next day, Brandon began tapping on the glass, trying to catch the octopus's eye. Hey there. You are not just some dumb animal, are you? The octopus's bioluminescent skin flickered, then spelled out a single word. Hello. It understands. It can talk. He pointed at himself and said, Brandon? The octopus flashed new patterns, tracing the syllables at the sand enclosure. Click's pack scratched images of food and water, mimicking his gestures. He scrawled letters with a rock, repeating sounds until the pangolins chirped back something like yes and no. Brandon named the octopus Lurix, the pangolin leader Click, and the silent predator simply watched. On the 4th day, the predator spoke. Gorath, it rumbled, tapping its chest. The sound shook the glass. They have names. They have minds. And they're just as trapped as me. Lurix pulsed. Ticket. Admission. Credits. The zoo charged for every pair of eyes. They pay to stare at us. This whole place is a business, isn't it?
Business and prison. The purple one, Director Zarvok, owns the doors and the keys to every cage.
So the guy in purple is the one who pockets the cash. Good to know. That afternoon, Brandon grabbed a handful of ration cubes and began juggling. It was a desperate stab at entertainment. A pair of tourists paused, their antennae quivering. One raised a translation device, trying to parse the pattern. Ladies, gentles, and tentacled beings of all ages. Witness the death-defying cube dance of the Sol -3 primitive. The small audience swelled into a crowd. Chirps and clicks of amusement echoed down the corridor as more visitors pressed against the glass, high above. Director Zarvok glanced at a monitoring feed. His tablet logged a tiny blip in today's admission transactions.
A fleeting flutter, not worth descending from my sanctuary. The creature performs for scraps. Let it.
Over the next 2 days, Brandon's act evolved. He told stories about Earth, mimed skiing down invisible slopes, and recruited Lurix to flash colors in rhythm. By the end of the 5th day, Zarvok's revenue tablet lit up with a 600% spike in the primitive bipeds section.
A 600% spike from one primitive? This is a system glitch. It has to be.
Brandon, catching his breath after a set, stared at the packed corridor and did his own math.
They're making a killing off me. And I am getting nothing but these chalky cubes. That ends now.
He slammed the intercom button on his enclosure wall until a chime sounded. A holographic request floated. Connect to Director Zarvok.
Director Zarvok? This is Brandon Cross. My show is packing the lanes. I want a cut. 10% of my enclosure's ticket sales.
10%? You are an exhibit, a piece of property. I do not negotiate with curiosities. The answer is no.
Zarvok's image flickered out, leaving a dying chime. In his observation deck, the director snorted and dismissed the report as a fluke.
So, that's how it is. He thinks I'm just an animal. Time to prove him wrong.
That night, after the last visitor filed out, the exhibits whispered through glass and force fields.
He called us property. But we're not. We're people. Different body plans, same brain. We deserve a share of what they make off us.
Intelligence deserves wages. The Purple One must learn we are not decorations.
We, together, demand. Yes, the pack stands with the two legs.
Gorath will not kneel anymore. I will be silent until the Purple One hears.
They pressed crude pictograms against the glass. A stick figure, a tentacle, a claw, sealed with a thumbprint of ration paste.
We're no longer scattered exhibits. We're a coalition. And tomorrow, we make our voice heard. 8 sentient species. 1 glass-windowed prison. Either we win together, or we rot together.
Outside, the zoo's climate control hummed softly, oblivious to the pact hardening in the dark.
Tomorrow, Zarvok meets his new exhibit, collective bargaining. Let's see how that spikes his charts.
At sunrise, Brandon linked every enclosure into one channel. Zarvok's morning coffee splashed across his console when the alert blared.
Director, the exhibit coalition demands 3 things. 1, nutritional variety. 2, enrichment access. 3, a 5% revenue share per sentient exhibit.
Demands from livestock. I can turn off your oxygen remotely. No to all 3. Return to your cage.
We are not livestock. 8 worlds, 8 intelligences, united. Deny us and we deny you our performances.
You'll perform because I dictate the feeding schedule. No rations for a cycle. Let's see how united you are on empty stomachs.
Zarvok killed the connection, leaving a red threat-level elevation notice on his security feed.
He's bluffing. He needs the revenue. We just have to hold the line.
In their enclosures, the exhibits made a silent pact. Not a trick, not a story, not a single amusing twitch until the director acknowledged them. The zoo opened. Expectant crowds found only rigid, staring creatures. Lurix's tank remained unlit. Click's pack played dead. Gorath stared at the back wall.
I sat cross-legged on my cot, counting down the minutes until Zarvok's next revenue report.
For an hour, visitors shuffled in front of the glass, waiting for the show. Then the refund line began to form. A slow, angry serpent. At the customer service desk, a family of insectoids demanded their credits back, antennae snapping in fury.
Still holding. Every minute they aren't spending is a credit missed for Zarvok.
Lurix's tank remained a dark void, only a single eye pressed to the glass, tracking the empty corridor. Click's pack burrowed into the sand, only the slow rise and fall of golden scales betraying them as more than rocks. Gorath had not moved in hours, a monument to defiance carved from muscle and scarred fur.
2 hours, not a single ticket sold since morning. This silence is costing me.
The customer service queue snaked out of the building. News drones hummed overhead, drawn by the growing unrest. A keeper whispered to another that the predator hadn't twitched in hours, and neither had the human.
The clock's ticking. Zarvok, where's your profit now?
At noon, every food dispenser in the sentient enclosures powered down at once. Zarvok's first direct strike.
There it is. He thinks we'll fold for a meal. Joke's on him, I stashed extras under my bed.
He wedged a flat panel aside, a gap the keepers always ignored, and pushed cubes toward Lurix's tank, then rolled more to the corridor's edge.
We endure. A tentacle can go many days. Share, and the coalition survives.
Click's pack surfaced just enough to seize the offered morsels, a chitter of "thank pack" vibrating through the sand.
Gorath, no hunger can dent this pride. The Purple One will break before us.
Everyone holding. 8 species, 1 will. Starvation didn't even earn a twitch.
High above, Zarvok watched them share a meal on the security feed and hurled his data tablet across the room. Not a single performance, not a single concession. The Exhibit Coalition had become a quiet fortress.
1 round to us. Now, let's see what else his fear can invent.
That evening, Zarvok deployed 6 riot control automatons, matte black, 6-legged, each arm ending in a stun prod. They halted before Gorath's force field, sensors triangulating the predator's stillness. A synthesized voice announced, "Exhibit GC7, resume aim standard display, or sedation follows."
Gorath does not perform. Gorath demands.
The roar carried a subsonic pulse that cracked one automaton's optic and sent the others skittering backward. Stun prods sparking harmlessly. A hovering news drone caught the entire confrontation. Within the hour, the clip had reached 37 coalition worlds. Headlines scrolled across a dozen species feeds. Zoo director sends killbots against sentient predator. And are you paying to watch slaves? By sunrise, protesters gathered at the zoo entrance with holographic signs, "Sentients are not souvenirs," and "Free the Vornak 8." Zarvok's office filled with the angry chatter of shareholder vid calls, each more panicked than the last. His reputation was hemorrhaging.
The public is siding with exhibits. My exhibits. If this gets any worse, the board will replace me.
Outside the glass, the crowd of protesters grew. Inside, the exhibits remained still, knowing the tide was turning. End-of-day reports showed the zoo's total revenue had fallen 85% in 3 days.
The board will have my skin. I have to stop this bleeding now.
A holographic panel blinked. Emergency shareholder summit. Attendance mandatory. 7 voices demanded he resolve the crisis or face termination. Zarvok left the call with a single option: negotiate. An hour later, Zarvok descended to the exhibit floor for the first time, flanked by a single guard. Brandon rose from his cot as the director's purple robes filled the corridor outside the glass.
I am prepared to offer enhanced rations and a larger enclosure for you and the others.
That's not even close. We want back pay, a share of revenue, and release for all sentient exhibits.
Release. You are zoo property. I can improve conditions, but release is madness.
Then we remain silent, and your zoo dies.
Zarvok retreated to his office, boiling. Within the hour, orders went out. Ship in the docile herd beasts from storage. Keepers guided a shuffling line of gray, non-sentient quadrupeds into a hastily cleaned enclosure. They chewed placidly. Tourists glanced in, then walked away. One parent muttered, "We paid for sentience, not livestock."
Saw the replacements through the glass. Amateurs, no one pays to see cattle.
In the dark of his tank, Lurix probed a seam with a slender tentacle and made contact with an unsecured data port.
Hack complete. The Coalition's demands are now broadcasting to all major news feeds.
News drones swarmed, projecting the union's charter and the director's refusal to negotiate. Protests doubled overnight. Signs now read "Boycott Vornak Zoo" in 6 languages. Even the docile herd beasts grew restless from the noise, but no one was watching them anyway.
Zarvok just ran out of tricks. Time for him to feel the squeeze.
A formal notice from the Coalition Zoo Association erupted on Zarvok's console. License revocation hearing scheduled. Cause, unethical sentient containment and failure to ensure well-being.
Revocation, my zoo, my legacy gone, I will be erased.
He dressed in his finest robes and descended alone, no guard, to the exhibit floor, his footsteps echoing surrender.
I am here without conditions, no tricks. Name your price, all of it. What will end this silence?
Back pay for every day of captivity, for every sentient, 25% of all zoo revenue, and full ownership of the gift shop. I'll run it.
25%? The shop? You'll bankrupt us. It's unthinkable.
And a binding accord. No sentient being is ever caged here without consent. Species-wide release. It's not negotiable.
He demands I undo my entire operation, but the license clock is ticking. I have no other path.
You have until sunrise. The Coalition will decide with or without you. He'll take the deal. No choice. And once he does, we do more than survive. We build an empire.
But Zarvok's pride couldn't swallow defeat. He sent a coded order to a private hauler, prepare to relocate the sentient exhibits off-planet under cover of darkness. Lurix, still connected to the zoo's network, intercepted the transfer request and pulsed a warning through the glass.
The Purple One moves us tonight. Shipment manifest lists all 8 sentients. Betrayal.
Brandon slammed his palm against the intercom, patching Gorath and Click through a raw audio channel.
Gorath will not move. This rock is my ground.
We stay. Together. The pact does not break.
When the transport crew arrived with loading drones, they found Gorath blocking the service corridor, force field deactivated by Lurix's hack. One guard tried to signal for backup, but Zarvok's authorization codes had been revoked remotely. His own staff had turned against him after the news leaks. Caught on 1,000 cameras, Zarvok stood outside the exhibit hall, purple robes soaked in sweat, as the Coalition Zoo Association broadcasted his arrest warrant.
Checkmate. Now he's got nothing left but to sign.
By the time the arrest warrant went public, the Coalition Zoo Association had already dispatched an interim administrator, a slender insectoid in gray robes, clutching a datapad of full authority.
Here is the deal. Back pay for every captured sentient, 25% of gross revenue, full gift shop ownership, and species-wide release. Retroactive, unconditional.
The administrator's antennae twitched. It studied the human, then tapped a code into the datapad. A holojurist team shimmered into existence alongside it. The datapad projected a dense contract draft, clauses scrolling in 6 languages. Brandon watched every line.
I want a clause. No sentient may be kept without informed consent. That applies to everyone already here, as of right now.
The jurists conferred, their rapid clicking filling the corridor. Finally, the insectoid gave a single nod. One of the jurists added a new line, glowing gold. Exhibit Coalition Consent Clause. Species-wide release accepted. The administrator extended a 3-digited hand, and for the first time in Coalition history, a zoo exhibit shook the hand of its regulator as an equal.
It's happening. They're actually going to sign this. Now I just have to make sure they don't back out.
But the draft was done. In one night, Brandon Cross had turned from captive to partner, and the zoo would never be the same. Over the next 2 days, the zoo's conference area became a battlefield of legal precision. Brandon relayed each draft through the glass to the Coalition, gathering the consent of 8 different minds.
Contract must bind all zoos, not just this one. Our species cannot be taken again.
Yes, the pack votes. No more cages. Signed forever.
Gorath agrees. The Purple One's name should be struck from history.
Brandon carried their amendments to the lead jurist, a universal pledge against non-consensual sentient containment. The jurists argued precedent for hours, But the consent clause glowed gold. Brandon refused to strike it.
It stays. Or the exhibits stay on strike. The public is watching.
The final draft materialized. Every sentient signature added. A bioluminescent tentacle mark. A paw print. A human name. The zoo's central plaza was readied for a ceremony that would be broadcast across the galaxy. At dawn, the central plaza filled with dignitaries, journalists, and the 8 sentient species who had once been property. Brandon walked to the central dais in his worn flannel, the insectoid administrator beside him. On the datapad, Brandon pressed his thumb and scrawled his name, Brandon Cross. The gold consent clause shimmered.
By the consent of every being here, and by the law of the Coalition, we are free.
A roar erupted. Gorath threw back his head and bellowed triumph, while Click's pack chittered in unison. Holo drones captured it all, broadcasting the signing to 100 billion screens, the galaxy watching a human lead, the first interspecies liberation. The agreement offered a choice: leave for a sanctuary, or stay as paid performers. One by one, the exhibits moved toward Brandon.
We stay. Together, we are not exhibits. We are the founders of a new world.
From a guarded balcony, former director Zarvok watched, his yellow eyes empty, as his legacy crumbled.
This is just the beginning. Now we turn this prison into paradise.
The old enclosures were torn down. Bulldozers of glass gave way to open habitats and sentient-run exhibits. Brandon directed the renovations himself, tablet in hand, his old flannel replaced by a manager's vest, but his smirk just as sharp. Relaunch day drew cues that stretched out of the parking structure. The new marquee read, ethically managed, featuring sentient performers. Inside the gift shop, merchandise flew off shelves. I broke free from Vornak Zoo shirts sold out weekly.
Not bad for a guy who started out juggling chalk cubes.
Lurix opened the Aquatic Light Theater, chromatophore symphonies that left audiences weeping and coming back for more. Click's pack ran telepathic tours, chirping tales into visitors' minds, while Gorath held conservation talks, a gentle giant now earning his keep. Every sentient took a cut of the tickets. The zoo's profit-sharing model became coalition policy within a year. Brandon became president of operations, his image on holographic billboards across the sector.
I used to count trail miles. Now I count revenue. Both still feel like freedom.
A sleek white shuttle bearing the Earth emblem touched down on the zoo's VIP pad. Ambassador Chen met Brandon in the newly cultivated garden, a patch of green in a sea of alien architecture.
Mr. Cross, Earth wants you as a cultural attaché. Your fame could open doors across the Coalition.
Diplomat. Pushing papers, wearing a suit. That's not why I fought here. I appreciate the offer, Ambassador. But I am not a government man. I prefer building things myself.
Earth could use someone with your unconventional methods.
I'll build something that belongs to no government. The stars have enough diplomats. They need more bartenders.
Then I wish you success, Brandon Cross. The Coalition is richer for your presence.
Later, alone with an old photo of Colorado, Brandon traced the trailhead he'd never finished.
That path is closed, but the one ahead is mine to make.
With his zoo payout, Brandon bought a gutted warehouse in Vornak Prime's merchant district, a shell waiting for a soul. He sketched the plans himself. A long bar, a central tank, high stools for quadruped customers. Construction hummed for weeks. The finished interior glowed with warm amber lanterns and soft blue neon, a mix of Colorado cabin and alien bazaar. Gorath needed no training. Brandon draped a simple security sash over the Predator's massive shoulder.
Gorath will stand. No cage, no force field. This door is my duty.
A custom tank was lowered into the bar's center, filled with a gentle saline mix. Lurix pulsed a soft greeting from within.
Here I will paint the stories of our journey. A bar without light is just a room.
Click's pack learned to balance trays in a single afternoon. Their telepathic chitter warned of empty glasses before a patron could frown.
We serve. No enclosure, only open tables. The pack is free, and the pack is happy.
We are not ex-exhibits anymore. We're the owners, the staff, the soul of the place. Home.
The doors swung open to a line that stretched 3 blocks. Species from a dozen worlds crowded in, drawn by the rumor of a place where sentience served freely. Gorath stood at the threshold, his security sash gleaming, and rumbled a low greeting to each visitor. No one tried to start trouble. Brandon slid drinks across the bar, laughing with a 3-eyed regular and an insectoid couple. Click's pack danced between tables, trays floating on telepathic guidance, never spilling a drop. Lurix pulsed a slow golden pattern that made the whole room feel like a shared secret.
To the Exhibit Coalition. Once we broke free, now we pour free. Cheers.
Gorath roars for joy. No cage, only friends.
Outside, a news drone projected a headline. Zoo Uprising leader opens Galaxy's first cross-species tavern. The noise inside was half-species who had watched the strike on their homeworlds, now clinking glasses with the heroes they'd rooted for.
Didn't need a trail in Colorado. Just needed to build a new one.
The last patron had staggered home hours ago. The crossroads sign dimmed to a gentle pulse, and inside, the tavern fell to a warm, amber hush. Brandon sat alone at the bar, an old Colorado Trail photo glowing on his tablet.
Home is where you make it. The mountain lives in your memory, but here lives your heart.
Gorath padded over from his post, settling his massive head beside the bar with a contented rumble. Click's pack formed a sleepy pile in the corner, one chirping a soft good night before falling still.
Guess I finally found my trail. This is home. Good night, everyone.
The tavern hummed with the quiet of found family, a sanctuary built from courage and friendship. Outside, the twin moons of Vornak Prime painted the street in silver. The crossroads sign still glowed, a promise that all were welcome. Brandon Cross, once an exhibit, now a legend, had finally earned his place among the stars on his own terms.